I was like, there you go. See, I knew something was wrong with me. Hi guys, I'm Barbie Angel and welcome back to another segment of Let's Chat where we discuss real life issues for the real life women. So after posting my first video, I got a lot of questions, a lot of comments, messages, just about how I was diagnosed with PCOS, what were my symptoms prior to being tested, how did I know I had an incompetent cervix, what can, you ladies talk to your doctors about if you feel like something is wrong, things like that. I figured I can just do a video where I discuss those things. Hopefully I'll answer your questions and help you guys figure out, how to talk to your doctors about these kind of things. So without further ado, let's get to it. Like I said in my previous video, if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it right up here so you can watch that. Just go check that out. I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 19 years old, back in 2011. For me, I feel like prior to being diagnosed, I didn't have a lot of the symptoms that I do have now. The only symptom I really had was irregular periods. I know I had irregular periods for as long as I can remember. That probably was the first, kind of red flag that something was wrong, but I wasn't really paying attention to that. I wasn't really focused on that. I feel like that kind of started around when I was about 15, 16 years old. At that age, I wasn't really thinking about those kind of things. And when I was 16 years old, I remember having excruciating pain on my right side. I had to go to the ER. They thought it was my appendix, and they actually found out that I had a ovarian cyst that had ruptured. So I remember they gave me pain medication and some medication for infection, but that was kind of it. They just kind of said, the check up with your primary care physician, take your medication, you'll be fine in a couple of weeks. And that was the gist of the conversation with the doctors at the ER. I feel like at that time, that probably should have been the first red flag that something was kind of up, but I know PCOS was not something that was well known around that time. I think maybe that played a big part in it as well. I think another symptom was that I was very, very depressed in high school. I always felt like there was something wrong, that something wasn't right. Like I always felt like I was very depressed, I was very anxious, and coming from a West African family, that's not something that you really talk about with your family, your parents. So that was something that I definitely kept to myself. I mean, I know that my family, my parents knew that I would, stay in my room a lot. I didn't really want to be bothered a lot of the times. But I feel like depression was something that was really, really hard that I dealt with in high school. And actually after I found out about my PCOS and looking through it and doing research and finding out that depression was something that was linked to PCOS and something that PCOS can cause, I was like, there you go. See, I knew something was wrong with me. But yeah, that was something else I dealt with. I feel like another thing that I definitely dealt with was fatigue. Like I was always an extremely tired person. Like I could sleep 10 hours the night before, wake up, and I would still be exhausted, like physically drained all the time. At that age, your parents just think that you're lazy, that you don't want to do anything, you're a teenager, but I really was struggling, like high-key struggling. Like I was always tired. And that is another sign of PCOS. Like if you're always exhausted, you're always tired, you feel like you just worked a 24-hour shift all the time, then there's something wrong. So yeah, that was another thing that I definitely dealt with. But I didn't get, officially diagnosed until I actually lost my first pregnancy at 19 weeks pregnant. When I got pregnant, everything was fine in the beginning. We went to all of our appointments, baby was growing healthy, no issues at all, did all the normal tests that you would do, everything was fine. The night before my 19-week appointment, I actually started to spot. We went to the ER, they didn't do an ultrasound, they didn't really check me, they just kind of checked the heartbeat of the baby. So they were like, you know what, you're fine, you're gonna be okay, you have your doctor's appointment tomorrow, they'll check you, and you should be okay. I was not okay. We go to our appointment the next day, and I learned that I am 3 centimeters dilated, and that my baby's water is hanging out. So at that point, I was told there was nothing they could do. We were going to lose the baby. We were sent to labor and delivery. We go to labor and delivery. We ask what our options are. Is there anything we can do? They tell us about a cerclage. A cerclage is basically when they stitch your cervix closed after it opens early. But unfortunately, because my water bag was hanging out, it was more of a risk to me if they did the surgery, because the water could break, and I can get an infection because of the water and because it was already hanging out, and there was all these other complications that could evolve because of the situation that we were in. So the only option they gave us was to have me lay, I think it's called transverse, for 24 hours. So it's pretty much where they lay me like upside down. My head is down low, my legs are in the air, and it's just kind of a wait and see game where it's like you hope gravity takes over. In that situation, they're hoping that the gravity of you being upside down will kind of force the baby to kind of go down back into your cervical canal. That way they can do the surgery. But unfortunately, after those 24 hours were over, I did not have any progress. Everything was still the same, and they felt like my only option at that point was to induce labor, and that if I did not induce labor, that I would be putting more risk to myself, my first pregnancy, and not really understanding anything about any of the stuff that I have going on. I just kind of listened to the doctors. We induced the labor. I have my baby boy. I hold him. I look at him. And I just needed to understand what was going on with my body. They did recommend a bunch of specialists that they wanted me to see. So we started the process of just kind of figuring out what was going on with me. The first specialist that we did see was the one that told us about the incompetent cervix. He let me know that, you know, once you lose a baby preterm and your cervix starts to dilate earlier than you're supposed to, that's called an incompetent cervix, or you have a cervical insufficiency. And those things are usually, you know, dealt with by the cerclage, so that any pregnancy going further, I would need a cerclage. With the PCOS, he recommended me to another specialist after he kind of like did some ultrasounds and all these other kind of things. He recommended this specialist that I did go see. This specialist, he was a fertility specialist, but he also, you know, focused on PCOS and maintaining medication you can take to kind of get your hormones in balance. So we did end up seeing a specialist, and he kind of monitored us closely, and that's when I was diagnosed with PCOS. And for you ladies out there who are struggling with certain symptoms of PCOS and you don't know that you have it, and you've been to the doctors and they're telling you, come back in a few months, we'll do this test, and you know, we'll figure this out. I say you have to advocate for yourself. You have to speak up. You have to do your research. Come to your doctors with facts and say, I have this symptom, I have this symptom, I have this symptom. Can we please check for this, 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 and this? As much as they say don't Google your symptoms and you're gonna freak yourself out and all these things, you have to be informed about your body and the things that your body is going through. You know your body better than any doctor. You know your body well enough to know when something doesn't feel right, when something is wrong. So I feel like we have to be our biggest advocates. If you are dealing with any of these symptoms, if you have anything that you're concerned about, that you feel like, you know, something just isn't right, you have to stick to your guns. You have to speak to your doctors. You and say, look, I have all of these symptoms. I have, you know, I have irregular periods. I have acne. I have facial hair. I am overweight. Like, whatever it is, like, go to your doctor with, this is a list of what I have. Can we please check me for this, this, and this, because these symptoms resonate with these kinds of diseases, syndromes, whatever it is. I can tell you that doctors have told me things that, had I listened to them, I wouldn't be where I am today. You have to be your biggest advocate all the time, ladies, because doctors are humans too, you know, God bless them, but they make mistakes as often as anybody. So you have to advocate for yourself. You have to go in there with a voice. You have to be direct. You have to let them know, you know, I need to be tested for all of these things, you know, in order for your voice to even be heard. So, you know, trust your instincts. And you don't want a doctor's mistake to cost you your fertility, to cost you a baby, to cost you anything, you know. If you can find PCOS early, you know, there's a lot of things out now. There's a lot of research that can help you kind of maintain and gain your fertility back, and all of these things that can help you. If you feel like anything that I said you resonate with, you feel it, it sounds like these things are happening to you as well, definitely go to your doctor, speak up, and directly ask for tests to determine if you have any of these things. But yeah, that is my PCOS and incompetent cervix diagnosis story. I feel like, ladies, if you are dealing with any of these symptoms, your best bet is to go to your doctor with these facts. Like, I have this, I have this. These are the same symptoms for this syndrome. These are the same symptoms for this disease. Can you please check me specifically for this? You have to be pushy. You don't want something like this to linger on and you don't know about it, you're not catching it, and it just progresses and gets worse. You know if something isn't right. You know if you feel like something's going on that shouldn't be going on. Talk to your doctors. Be direct. Come in there sounding educated and informed. Like, look, I've done my research and I know that something is not right. Can you please check me for these things? And if your doctor refuses, look, you find another doctor, because the doctor is there for you. So that is my story. That is the advice that I have for you ladies. I hope you guys like this video. Please give it a thumbs up. I have so much more to come, and I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Bye.